Hello, I'm Will, and this is Mike with the Tabletop Donkeys.
Hello.
And in this video we'll be looking at issue 43 of Warhammer 40,000 Combat Patrol magazine, which continues building our Orks Combat Patrol with our first unit of 10 boys. You can see the building and paint instructions in our issue overview, and then we'll be trying them out in our game where they're looking to give a variety of gits a good Krumpin. First up in the magazine we have the build guide. These orcs are push-fit models like the war boss, so you don't need glue to put them together, but as usual we would recommend it because it helps the parts go together better and makes it harder for there to be gaps. So we're starting with the unit leader, which is called the boss knob. It does have two head options. They tell you to do the one with the horns for this one, and it also has two weapon options. The first unit has the big chopper, which is the large chain axe, and then he has the empty hand. But then 8 of the remaining models have no options or variant parts, so you just put them together as instructed, and most of them come in only a few parts. But this squad has the big shooter as the heavy weapon, so use these parts if you're following the combat patrol instructions. You'll have spare parts to make a rocket launcher, which will be used in the second squad. And then we have the painting instructions. Like the Ork war boss, these are going to be from the Goth clan, which means that they're predominantly black. So we're starting with an Abaddon black base coat, and then using a lot of lead belcher because there's plenty of metal on these. Guns, bits of armour, melee weapons. And also for the knob's boss pole on his back. Then we're using Ork flesh to do a green base coat for the skin. You will need probably several coats of this to get a good colour over the black. It should look roughly how you see on these pages here once you've got a good coverage. And then we're painting the clothes and the leather parts. It suggests painting some of the trousers and shirts with Mechanica standard grey. But there is a little box here with the title ragtag. Because orcs are not a uniform force, they don't have a consistent appearance. They'll just have whatever colours that particular orc happens to have for clothing and armour. So it does suggest you mix up whether you paint the trousers or the shirt grey, which bits of the armour panels are bare metal as opposed to painted black, and it even suggests you could add some red details on some of the armour if you want to break up the appearance. We're using Catachan flesh for all of the leather parts, Rakoth flesh for the wrappings on the knob's big chopper. Then there is some Mephiston red suggested here for things like loincloths and armour details. As before, you can decide which bits you want to do in those colours. Screamer pink for the orcs' tongues, and then wraithbone for the skulls and their teeth and claws, and the horns on the knob's helmet, and then Korax white for the glyphs on the knob. So there's a couple on his banner and then one on his belt. Then we have lots of shading to do. Quelia green shade all over the skin to give a bit more definition to the flesh. Nuln oil for most of the rest of the model, the metal parts, the reds, the grey, and the white glyphs. And then Agric earth shade for the cloth parts, horns, teeth, and also some of the bits of metal. You can put a coat of Agric earth shade over as well to change the tone of it. It just breaks up some of the large silver areas. Also the bullet casings in some of the guns. But then it suggests to relayer over the skin with Ork flesh again to bring back a bit of the vibrancy of the green, but don't go over the areas where you shade it so it leaves the dark colour in the recesses. And there are the boys up to this point, with actually most of the colours applied to them now. Then we have the collection article for the boys. These are the common orcs. They form into large mobs, often equipped with similar weaponry, which is usually crude and brutal but quite effective. And they're led by the largest of their kind, which in orc culture are called knobs. As usual, you can give them a background, record their name, and when you've built, painted and played with them. Their datasheet is over the page. We'll let Mike go over that in a minute once we get to our game, but on the next page there is an orc unit name generator. So we've had one for the individual orc models like the warboss, but these ones can be used to give names for your units. So there are two tables, one for the leader's name and then one for the unit epithet. For example, Gurk's Nosebreakers or something similar. But that's it for the issue content. I'll hand you over to Mike, who will be showing us the boys' datasheet and then taking us into our scenario for today where the orcs get to fight a variety of different enemies.
So looking back a page in the issue, we can have a look at the datasheet for our new boys unit. You can see some parts are greyed out. This is because we actually get a separate unit of boys that has a slightly different weapon loadout, and you actually get 2 datasheets, one for each. So they've got 6-inch move, toughness 5, 5+ save, 1 wound for the regular boys, but the boss knob has 2, leadership 7 and OC of 2. And they have a variety of weapons, so there is 1 big shooter, which is pretty much the same as the war boss's big shooter. There are 3 shooters, which are rapid fire 1 with an 18-inch range, 2 attacks, hitting on 5, strength 4, AP 0, 1 damage, and then the remaining models have sluggers, which are similar to shooters but are pistols with a 12-inch range and 1 attack. The boss knob has a big chopper for his melee weapon, which has 3 attacks, hits on 3, strength 7, AP -1, 2 damage, and then there are 5 with choppers, and all the ones with shooters and the big shooter will have close combat weapons, which have hitting on 3s, strength 4 and 1 damage, but the choppers have an extra attack, 3 instead of 2, and are AP -1. They don't have any unit ability, but they do get the War faction ability, and they are battle line as well, so they are able to sticky objectives. And we'll be able to test out our new Ork Boys in today's scenario, a good Krumpin, where the Tyranid hive mind has sent some termagants into some Ork territory, and the Orks have come to meet the Tyranids over the remains of an ancient Imperial facility where they're going to crump the Tyranids and then loot any good bits while they're there. So for our forces, the Ork player gets 2 units of 5 boys, so splitting their unit of 10 in half, and the Tyranids player has 2 units of 10 termagants, and then the Tyranids are deploying on one short edge with the Orks on the opposite short edge. And there are 3 objectives, 1 in the middle, and then the other 2 basically along each quarter of the map. And we're using just one map, our new one. And we set up some terrain in the no man's land area, and we are not allowed to use any enhancement or secondary objectives or faction abilities or stratagems. The Orks player goes first. At the end of each player's command phase, they score points by looting objectives, which is described in a little bit, and then the game ends after 4 battle rounds or if all of one side's models are destroyed, and the player who has the largest number of victory points at the end is the winner, otherwise they have an equal number here to draw. So the video conditions mention looting, which is obviously a favoured Ork pastime just after fighting things. So we gain victory points by looting objectives. At the end of each player's command phase, the player whose turn it is can loot any objectives they control and that they have not previously looted. The way that happens is you just roll a d6, and if you roll a 1 you don't get any victory points. If you roll a 2 to 5 you get 3, and if you roll a 6 you get 5 victory points. So in the example, the Ork Boys control an objective and they're going to loot it in the command phase, and they roll a 4 and get 3 victory points. So there's going to be a bit of an element of luck rather than tactics in this, but it is a very small game and it's really more about just testing out the Ork Boys really. And then we have our victory outcomes, Tyranid victory, Orks victory or draw. And then on the back page it gives you some hints on changing the scenario to fight some of the other factions we have, so the Marines, the Aeldari and the Chaos Space Marines, which we might do some of, perhaps not all of them. We'll see how it pans out. So here we are set out. You can see our 3 objectives, 1, 2, 3 across the middle of the battlefield, and I've got 2 units of termagants on the left, also I'm playing the Tyranids. And you can get a closer look at our Ork Boys.
And it tells us to split the unit into 2 units of 5, but there are only 3 with shooters, plus 1 with a big shooter, so one of the melee ones is going over with them, because I don't really want to put the knob with them, because he's the best one in melee.
And then the Orks get to go first, so we're into Orks turn 1.
Well, the first thing I can do is loot objective marker 3, or loot pile 3 I suppose, because that happens in the command phase. And so we roll to see how many victory points I get. A 2, there's 3 victory points. And then we're going to get stuck in, so moving both units up. We'll take objective 2, but that's not important yet. And then do some shooting. And we'll start with the unit with the 3 shooters and the big shooter in it. I'm going to shoot the termagants at the top of the board.
Yeah, well I will say the Orks did use some cunning and stayed more than 9 inches away from the termagants, so I couldn't reactive move.
Yeah. So we've got the big shooter, which is rapid fire 2, and it starts with 3 shots, and it's within half range, so it'll be 5 shots, but it's only hitting on 5s because Orks aren't very good at shooting. Oh, they got a hit, and it's strength 5, so it wounds on A3. It did, with no AP.
Some of the termagants will get cover from the ping cargo container though, so I'll put it on one of them. 4 plus armour? No, it's a dead termagant.
And then I've got the 3 shooters and 1 slugger in that unit. The shooters are not in rapid fire range because they only have an 18-inch range, so they only get 2 shots each, and the slugger is the same but only has 1 shot, so it's all hitting on 5. Wow, 5 hits, winning on 3s. No, only 2.
Put them on termagants in cover. Well, I made both saves anyway.
And the other unit, 3 of the pistols are in range, the 2 at the back are not. So 5s to hit. Well, 2 of them hit. And 2 wounds.
Again, enough to take them on the guys who are in cover. Save 1 fell on.
And then the melee unit will declare a charge on the other unit of termagants that hasn't taken any damage. But they'll need to roll a 9, and they do not.
And there we go, Ork shooting not that impressive at the best of times, only killing 2 termagants as we head into Tyranids turn 1. Well, first thing that happens is I'm going to loot objective 1. I roll a 5, which means I get 3 victory points. So in my movement phase, both units of termagants are going to advance, because I really don't want to try and charge Orks in melee. The unit of 10 has advanced to get onto objective 2 and basically denied the Orks a chance to loot it in the next turn, while the other unit has moved around the cargo container, try and get around the back to get objective 3. In the shooting phase, I'll start with the unit of 8 and they're going to shoot the boys with shooters. 8 shots hitting on 4s, 6 hits wounding on 4s because they're strength 5. Only 2 wounds.
But Orks only have a 5+ save, which I failed both of, so that's 2 dead.
The other unit of termagants I think will shoot at the boys with sluggers and choppers because they're more dangerous in melee. 10 shots on 4s. Ooh, that is not good. That's only 3. Wounding on 4s. Only 1.
With a 5+ save, nope, 1 dies.
Didn't thin out the Orks quite as much as I would have hoped as we head into Orks turn 2.
Well, I can't loot anything because I don't control that objective because there are too many termagants on it. I'm not going to move either because that will make the termagants reactive move away, which I don't want to do because I want to charge them. So we'll just do some shooting. We'll start with the unit now with the 2 shooters, and the big shooter are going to shoot at the units at the top of the board. Everything's in rapid fire range, and I'm just going to roll them all together because even though the big shooter is strength 5, both weapons are wounding termagants on 3s. I can just do it all at once, hitting on 5s. 4 hits, wounding on 3s. Well, they're all wounded.
Oh, we've got a couple of termagants that will have cover from all of them, so I'll do them first with 4+ saves. Oh, they live, and one of them dies.
4 sluggers from the other squad into the other unit of termagants. They get 2 hits, and 1 wound.
With a 5+ armor save, made it.
And then both units of boys are going to charge. The unit with the shooting weapons are going to charge the ones up the top of the board, and the unit with the melee weapons are going to charge the ones in front of them on objective 2. For the shooting unit, rolls a 9, that will definitely be in, and the other one only really needs a 2, it also rolls a 9. That's what our charges look like. The 3 boys at the top spreading themselves out a tiny bit to stop the termagants being able to fall back through them, and then both units get to fight. I'll start with the melee unit. Start with the Knob's big chopper. It has 3 attacks and they hit on 3s because orcs are good in melee. They all hit and they're strength 7, so they wound termagants on 2s. That is 2 wounds, and these are -1 AP.
6s to save. Nope, 2 dead termagants.
And then we've got 3 left armed with choppers, which also have 3 attacks each. 3s as well. Not very good though, only 4 hits. And these wound on 3s. 3 wounds, also AP -1.
6s again. Oh, made 2, so that's 3 dead termagants.
In the other squad, because they have the shooters, only have close combat weapons, which are 2 attacks each, hitting on 3s. Only getting 3 hits, strength 4 again, so wounding on 3s. 2 wounds, but this time no AP.
5+ armor, made 1, lose 1. So you can see I've piled in both units of termagants, and obviously we'll strike back. We'll do the unit at the top. 6 attacks hitting on 4s, 2 hits, and wounding on 5s, no wounds. And the unit at the bottom has 7 guys, 4 hits, wounding on 5s, 3 wounds.
Oh dear, we've got 5s to save. Only saved 1, so... Well, I think we'll actually lose 1 and put a wound on the Knob. The Knob has 2 wounds, so down to 1.
Yeah, and that does mean that that unit isn't below half strength though, which is probably more important. And we'll be heading into Tyranids turn 2. Now I do control objective 2 through weight of numbers, so I can loot it, because I technically control it. I rolled a 6, which is worth 5 victory points, so I go up to 8. And I think I'm actually going to keep both units in melee because I want to try and maintain control of objective 2 to stop the orcs from looting it, and if I just fall back I can't shoot and the orcs will just shoot and charge me. So I guess we're going to stick it out in melee, but the orcs get to pick first.
And I'll pick the melee unit. The Knob hits twice and wounds on 2s only once.
With a 6+ save, which I made.
And the 2 normal boys only hit 3 times, and they wound on 3s. 3 wounds.
Again with 6s. I made another one, so we're down to 5 termagants in that unit. So I get to fight with the unit of 6 termagants at the top of the board, hitting on 4s. 3 hits, wounding on 5s. We got a wound.
1 5+ save. Nope.
And then they get to hit back.
We're going to be 4 attacks now, getting 2 hits, and wounding on 3s, only 1.
5+ save, failed, lose a termagant. And finally, I've got 5 termagants fighting the melee orcs, hitting on 4s, getting 3 hits, wounding on 5s, another wound.
5+. Oh, I made it. Phew, the Knob is alive.
Yeah, and stops them going below half strength as well. So that's actually at the end of Tyranids turn 2, as we head into Orcs turn 3.
So I still don't hold any more objectives, and the 2 orcs at the top need to take a battle shock test. Their leadership's 7+, and they pass with a 10. And then these orcs in the middle really need to get some work done in order to take objective 2, but they can fire their pistols in melee, which hit on 5s. Wow, they all hit!
It's point blank range.
And they win on 3s. Oh, only 1. But still.
5+ armor save, failed, killed a termagant. Well, in the fight phase I get to pick first, so I'll pick the 4 termagants fighting the melee orcs. 4 attacks on 4s, getting 2 hits, wounding on 5s. We got 2 wounds.
Oh dear, 5s to save. Made 1, but the Ork Knob does die. Oh, so I guess I'll do the other 2 orcs at the top. 3s to hit. Still they can manage 2, and only 1 wound.
5+ armor, made it. Termagants hitting back at the top, getting 2 hits, wounding on 5s, no wounds. Finally the 2 remaining Ork boys with slugger choppers.
They hit 6 times. And they were wounding on 3s. They wound 4 times.
6s to save. I made 1, there's only 1 termagant left, but that doesn't mean the orcs might control the objective. So we're heading into Tyranids turn 3, where the lone termagant remaining in that unit in the middle has to take a battle shock test. And he fails, but I think he's just going to have to stay in melee. So the termagants that are fighting the shooter boys are going to fall back and get towards objective 2, and I can get 3 of them within range, which means that even if the orcs kill that one termagant, they won't be able to control the objective, and they'd still have to pass the battle shock test to do so anyway.
Yes, I can't win, but I'll see if I can kill that one termagant in melee at least. I've got 2 orcs trying to do that. No, they hit 6 times again, and they wound 4 times again, so they're doing fine now that the game is lost.
And they kill it 4 times over. But yes, essentially in Orcs turn 4, they won't be able to take control of Objective 2 because I have too much objective control over it, and even if they move on to Objective 1, they don't have time to loot it. So that would be a Tyranid victory for this game. We might try some of the other factions now. So we set up the board again. This time we'll send the boys against the Infernus Marines. We put all 5 Infernus Marines. That might be a bit too much of a challenge for them, but Orcs always love a good scrap. And Orcs once again get to go first. So we head into Orcs turn 1.
So we'll do some looting to start off. Oh, I rolled a 1. No victory points from pile number 3.
No good stuff here.
So Orcs moving up again, and everyone obviously is just going to shoot the Infernus Marines. We'll do the big shooter separately though, because it is strength 5. So these hit on 5s. 2 hits. 3s to wound. No. And I can do all the shooters and sluggers from both units at the same time because they're all really the same, and the shooters are not in rapid fire range. So there's actually 6 hits, so they wound on 4s. No, 2.
3+ armor saves. We fail 1, and Marine is wounded.
And then both units might as well try and declare a charge, because if I can tie them down I don't get flamed. So we'll try the melee unit first. It doesn't roll a 9. The shooting unit also doesn't. Oh dear.
So in Space Marines turn 1 I can loot Objective 1. I roll a 5, which means I get 3 victory points from it. We're going to move up. The Infernus Marines only have OC1, so we can't take the objectives from the Orcs except for killing all of them. So I think what we'll do is split fire. We'll put 3 incinerators into the melee unit and the other 2 into the shooting unit. 3d6 automatic hits on the melee unit, getting 8. Wounding on 4s, because it's strength 5. That is 3 wounds.
With a 5+ save. Didn't make any of them. I think we'll lose 2 and put a wound on the knob again.
Yeah, stops them going below half strength. 2d6 on the other unit, only 3 hits. And 2 wounds.
I only killed 1.
One of the shooters is wearing his fireproof t-shirt today. And we might as well charge. We'll try and charge just the shooter unit. I think we need a semi-decent roll. A 4 will be enough to get them in, I think, but that's not a good roll. So I had hoped to get a decent charge, or maybe charge around and sneakily get onto Objective 3, but we're just going to have to try and fight the Orcs in the front line. So we have 15 attacks from the Marines on 3s. We only got 6 hits, which is pretty poor for Space Marines. We're wounded on 5s as well, because these are some beefy Orcs. We got a wound after all that.
Didn't save, so they did kill 1. And then the boys get to hit back, although I have kept the one with the melee weapon alive, so it will be slightly better. So we'll do that one. They only managed to hit once, unfortunately. Moving on a 4. Did wound. -1.
4+ save. Made it.
And 4 attacks from the other 2. 3 hits, 4s to wound, 1.
3+ save. Saved again. So that was honestly quite a pitiful melee attack from a load of Space Marines. And we'll head into Orcs turn 2, where they will get to do some looting at last.
Yeah, I do hold Objective 2 because Infernus Marines are only OC1, so I have 6 Orcs on it, and I will get 3, which is 3 victory points. Well, the tactical thing to do here would be to have one or other unit go and take Objective 1, but Orcs don't do that. So the shooter boys are going to stay in melee, and the melee unit is going to line up for a charge. There is 1 pistol actually in the shooting unit. Well, the 1 slugger unsurprisingly didn't do anything, and then that unit will make a charge, which it does. So making a charge like that, and then obviously that unit that charged gets to fight first. The Norb only hits once, wounds on a 3 against Space Marines. It does.
Failed the save, so the wounded Marine dies.
Should have actually done the other ones first, but I got excited. So anyway, we'll do the other 2. They hit 4 times, they win on 4s. 2 at -1.
4+ saves, made both. Infernus Marines will hit back into the shooter boys. Whoa. And they all hit, and they wound on 5. 4 wounds.
5+ saves. Made 1, but they're all dead.
Then in my turn 2, I'm actually going to fall back to hold Objective 3, so I can loot it in my turn 3, and then maybe take Objective 2. And then there's going to be no shooting because I've fallen back, and no melee because I'm not in melee. And we're straight into Orcs turn 3.
There's no point going over to Objective 1 because I would have to wait until my next turn to roll for it, and the Space Marines would score not only Objective 3, but also probably just roast the Orcs. So the best thing to do here is just charge them. 3 pistols though. 1 hit, didn't wound, and their charge, they're in. So I'll do the knob first. There we go. Hits 3 times this time and wounds twice at -1.
4+ armor. Failed one. That will kill a marine.
And 2 others. 4 hits and 2 wounds.
Failed one. Wounded marine. The 3 remaining Infernus marines get to fight back. Hitting on 3s. 5 hits. Wounded on 5s. Nothing at all. Those are some beefy orcs.
Ooh.
And we're straight into Space Marines turn 3, where I don't control the objective because it's 3 orcs to my 3 marines, but they're all OC2. So we're just going to stay in melee, going to shoot our pistols, getting 1 hit, wounded on a 5, or wounded.
So the knob might die, it does.
So 2 remaining orcs, but they get to fight first.
And they hit 4 times, and wound 4 times.
Ooh.
Oh, they're angry.
Yeah, 4+ saves. I failed 3, so we're down to just the Sergeant. So just the Infernus Sergeant remaining. So we head into Orcs turn 4.
My battle truck test is quite important because I need to stop the Space Marines holding this objective. Oh dear, we failed because leadership's 7. So we'll just have to stay in melee and kill the Sergeant instead. So we've got 2 pistols, which hit once and fail to wound. The Sergeant gets to fight first though.
3 attacks on 3s, getting all hit. And 1 wound.
Oh, does kill an Orc. So 3 attacks need to kill a Space Marine Sergeant. Well, they all hit. And 2 wounds, that's enough. Now
he lives. So in this last turn, the Sergeant needs to make a battle shock test, and then I need to not roll a 1. Leadership 6, I think, for Marines. So they passed. So I can loot the objective, even though I'm in melee. I rolled a 3, which takes me up to 6 victory points, which means the Space Marines win. But we'll see if the Orc can crump the Marine first.
he gets 3 hits. But only 1 wound, so no.
Well, I wounded him, and you know what? Might as well see if we get 3 attacks back. 2 wounds on the Orc.
Oh, which kills it.
So that will be a Space Marine victory. So I think we'll do one more game. Not sure how interesting the Chaos Space Marines versus the Orcs would be, because they're just the Marines are better. But we'll try out the Aeldari Guardians, and we'll be into Orcs turn 1.
And we'll get to loot. We get 3 points this time. So we're moving up once again, but these perfidious Aeldari have started further back, so not as much as in range, and the charges are going to be harder. But we do have 1 pistol from each squad in range of the unit that they're closer to, and obviously all the longer range weapons will be in range, so the shooting unit will shoot at the unit of 5 without the heavy weapons platform. So we'll do them all together again, because Aeldari already counts as 3, so the big shooter is the same. And that was 5 hits, including the slugger again as well. And 4 wounds, no AP though.
So we do have cover, though, from the pink cargo container, so we'll be on 3s. Failed 1, there's 1 dead Guardian.
The other pistol from the other unit actually got a wound on the other unit.
Yep. With a 4+ save, failed. 1 casualty on each unit of Guardians.
And then we can declare some very long charges. Both of them need an 11 though, because they're just within 12. Well, that was going to be the melee squad, and the die that was in the box was a 1. So and then the shooters charging the other squad.
Heading into Aeldari turn 1, I think we're going to try and hold position and just shoot all the Orcs to death before the end of the game. Just about in range of objective 1 with the top unit, so I do get to loot it first though. And don't get anything. So in my movement phase, I'm actually just going to move away from the objectives. We could move up and try and contest the objectives, but there's too many Orcs in objective 2. I'll have to move everyone in, and then we just get crumped in melee. So we're going to try and thin out the Orcs first. Starting with the unit at the top, they're going to shoot at the unit of melee Orcs. So we've got 2 shots each from the Guardians, hitting on 3s, 7 hits, wounding on 5s, 2 wounds at AP -1.
So we do only get a 6+ save. That'll be 2 dead Orcs.
And then the other unit again, starting with shuriken catapults, missed the dice, 6 hits, wounding on 5s, 1 wound.
Another 6+, no.
And then the star cannon hits on 3s, gets 2 hits, strength 8, so it wounds on 3s. 1 wound at -3.
So just kill the remaining Orcs, just leaving the knob.
Well, the knob outlived the rest of his Orcs at the very least, as we head into Orcs turn 2.
Do get to do some more looting though at last on objective 2. And another 3. The knob passed his battle shock test, and then we're moving up, and everything will shoot at the squad with the heavy weapon platform, I think. Everything from both units is all wounding on 3s with no AP, and hitting on 5s, and all the shooters are in rapid fire. Only 3 hits, 3s to wound. 2.
4+ saves. Yeah, I'll take them on Guardian, so we'll lose another one in that unit.
And then the knob will declare a charge at the very least on the unit with the star cannon. It's a decent enough roll. 7 might be enough. Yeah, that was enough to get to the star cannon, and then the other unit will charge the other unit. Possibly a slightly bigger roll, or a 9 will definitely be good though. So enough to make both charges, and then both units get to fight. I'll start with the knob. Only gets 2 hits, wounding on 2s though against squishy Aeldari, getting 2 wounds at -1.
Do it on heavy weapons platform first. So it dies, and then a Guardian dies. So just 2 Aeldari left at the end of Orks turn 2. Aeldari turn 2, they have to take a Battleshock test, which they pass, leadership 6. So we're going to bravely run away, and maybe the Orks will fail all their charges and we'll get to sneakily loot an objective. We'll be on to Orks turn 3.
So I get to loot the 3rd and final objective, and I roll 1. So that's 6 victory points is my maximum. And the Knob has to take Battleshock tests, which he failed this time. So we're just going to follow those 2 Aeldari and then shoot them a lot. So all the shots once again. 5s. 5 hits, 3s to wound. 5 wounds.
With 4+ saves. Yeah, that's 3 failed. That will kill. So that is definitely an Ork victory. And I think we'll leave it there. I think the Chaos Space Marines will probably play out very similar to the regular Marines, but the Chaos Marines are better in melee. So we'll leave it at that point and recap these games for you now. Well, those were the games for issue 43 of Warhammer 40,000 Combat Patrol magazine. How did you think that went?
Well, not as good as they could have done. I don't know what I expected, though, so I'm not sure whether that was a good showing of the boys or not. They did feel they didn't roll very well for melee, certainly against the Termagants.
Yeah, I would have thought you'd have rolled over the Termagants quite easily. So I think I did roll well for their saves.
Yeah, and their shooting didn't do very much, but I wasn't really expecting it to. Orc shooting is usually, it's nice if it does something, but you don't usually rely on it. But their melee capabilities were not as impressive as perhaps you might think looking at them on paper. I think part of that's because of the makeup of the unit, which we'll talk about in a minute, but from the point of view of this game, having the unit split into 2 units of 5 meant that neither unit was really big enough to be that impactful if it lost members, I suppose. Again, the shooting was never really much to start with, even though there's a lot of shots, it doesn't really do all that much.
Yeah, I mean, I think ideally you'd kill off the guys with shooters before you lost any of the slugger chopper boys.
Yeah, certainly for combat patrol, the melee is usually a bit better. Or at least on average, the shooter armed boys will do more damage in melee against most things because they hit better. Obviously, shooting you don't need to be in melee to do, but they're actually more effective hitting people.
I think also Orks, they're your toughness 5, so you're being wounded on 5s by a lot of things, but only having 1 wound for the regular boys and have fairly poor armour, and you probably rolled poorly for them.
Yeah, they only really got into their stride when we were facing the Guardians.
Yeah, the Infernus Marine game was very close.
It also would have swung if I'd made an early charge, for example, against the Termagants, but that didn't happen.
Or I think as well, not a huge fan of random victory points, because there's a chance you'll roll a 1 and not get any, but in games this small, it doesn't matter that much.
And yeah, the loadout I'm really not a fan of. Having a mixed unit of boys just means they're not as good at either one of the 2 things as a dedicated unit would be. It's a bit like the Chaos Space Marines, although at least with them you can split them into 2 more logical units of 5. If it was, say, 5 shooty ones and 5 melee ones, you could get 2 squads of 10 and split them up along those lines, but you don't. It's 3 shooters and a big shooter and then 6 with melee weapons in the squad, including the leaders. So it's not a unit you would ever want to use, I think, normally, where it's better to have all of the same thing. And it also means that in the combat patrol you have 2 almost identical units, both of which are not quite as good as they could be.
Yeah, they've got a controversial kit for the Orks because they're all monopos, so you have to build them as a mixed unit, I think, apart from the Knob and the special weapons guy, which is why they still sell the old kits of Ork Boys, which can have full units of shooters or slugger choppers.
Yeah, the actual sculpts themselves are really good, but you don't even get alternate heads, they are literally identical. And also it sort of makes me fear slightly for the future of the Ork range that maybe the old boys kit will disappear and then Ork Boys will always be a 10-man squad equipped with the same strange mix of weapons.
Yeah, because Orks are sort of the classic modelers faction where you can just kind of go crazy with them. Orks are an army you can run as a horde, but it's also a horde army where you don't want everyone to look the same, because Orks have that kind of individualism.
Yeah, it's not like Termagants where they all look basically the same, but it doesn't matter.
You want Termagants to look the same, so they will look like the part of the same endless swart, whereas with Orks, they have too much personality for that.
Yeah, and if you have 2 Orks in exactly the same pose, it's really obvious, whereas 2 Termagants in the same pose, you barely notice.
Yeah, and I think for beginners, Orks are another pretty solid army, because it's a fairly simple strategy of just charge at things, and they're fairly beefy and chunky, so they're fairly easy to paint, and they've got tons of personality as well. Everyone loves Orks. Even if you don't play Orks, it's impossible to hate them. Yeah. And Ork players generally have the reputation of being really good fun to play against as well, because they don't really care if they win or not. Well, with Orks, it fits with them, because if you lose, you just come back and try again. And if you win, find someone even tougher to fight against. But otherwise, not too much more to say about them, or these games, or this issue. Leave any comments if you play Orks, that'd be interesting to know. I think we did get a comment about someone starting with the Orks, so let us know how you've been getting on with them. We've been the Tabletop Donkeys, and we'll see you in the next one.
Bye for now.